Action figures. I like them. You like them. Everybody loves them. But what happened to them? Remember when action figures looked like toys? I miss those days. Let's talk about it. Well, welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you with another video. And what are we going to talk about today? With just me, just doing a little rant. You know, I went to Target this week. I went to Target this week to look at figures that I couldn't afford. Found a cool Boba Fett. It looked like a comic book Marvel. You know, I'm a big Marvel Star Wars comic book fan. And this was a 3.75 inch Boba Fett. $21 plus tax. Well, actually $20.99 plus tax. I had to tap out. I said, I'm not paying $21 for 3.75. I'm not even hardly paying that for a 6 inch, but I've learned to accept the low end of the 20s. But I'm not really here to bitch about the prices. I understand inflation is up. Oh, it's down now. No, it's still up. Up compared to what it was a couple of years ago. Everything's expensive. Rent, your mortgage, your gas, your grocery bills, and yes, even your action figures. Everybody has felt the crunch. But again, I'm not here to talk about the prices. I'm talking here to talk about something else that's really turned me off to collecting action figures. At least collecting action figures in today's world. That's because action figures don't look like toys anymore. What happened? Is it just me? Now, of course, as a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s, I had action figures and they looked like toys and I loved to play with them. I had the Kenner Star Wars figures and did Luke Skywalker look like Mark Hamill? Did Carrie Fisher look like the Princess Leia action figure? Did the Han Solo figure look like Harrison Ford? Did the Greedo figure look like Jerry McGarland? No, and I didn't care. Because I just wanted something that kind of represented the movie, didn't have to look like a 3D scan of it. I wanted something that I could play with, looks like it would fit in a ship, looks like I could take it outside, throw it around, and it wouldn't break apart. And then in the 90s, I still got into action figures. Remember, I really got into the Batman animated series because it looked like what you saw on the television, but they still, and the core things, look like action figures. They look like toys. They look like a toy version of what I saw on TV. I really got into the Star Trek Playmate figures. Did they look exactly like the actor? No. They looked pretty good for the time period. And they look like, a toy version of what I saw on Star Trek. And then, Star Wars came back out and they were all big and bulky. No, we bought them anyway. But I noticed over the last couple of years, I know the kids are moved away from action figures. And I know you're going to tell me, oh, my son and his friends, they still buy action figures, Junkman. I'm talking about overhaul the market, not because you know one kid or one guy that buys action figures. Overall, the market for boys buying action figures has changed. Yes, they may pick up one or two, but they don't collect the whole line. Like with He-Man or Star Wars when I was a kid, they was figures you didn't really want. Cloud Car Pilot, but you had to buy it. You had to have the set. It said right there on the box, collect them all. So you had to collect them all. You were a dork if you had Star Wars figures and you didn't have them all, or at least wasn't trying to get them all. If you said, I don't want that, I'll put it back. No. So yes, kids today, the young kids, they just don't like movie figures, TV movies. They are buying some action figures like Fortnite and stuff like that. So the toy companies had to adapt. And it seems now everything is aimed toward a collector. Now, there are usually at least two different lines or close to it. We'll look at the new movie, The Flash. One of the biggest hits of the summer has two action figure lines. Of course, it's got the one from McFarlane, without a doubt is aimed toward collectors. And then they got one from Mattel that's more aimed for the younger viewer, the kids. But I don't know what kids wants to buy the Flash action figures, and they look horrible. They look some of the worst looking action figures I've ever seen. They look like they would break just trying to get them out of the plastic bubble. But my point here is, I don't understand why they can't look like toys anymore. I understand technology's gotten better. They can 3D scan the face and everything and make the figure look just like what we saw in the movie. Well, I don't like that. One thing I like about the retro collection or the Super 7 action figures, because yeah, they don't look really, they look like they're trying to look old, but they really don't look, they look kind of like new, you can tell they're trying to look old, but At least they look like damn toys, and that's what I like. An action figure line that looks like toys. Today, most of the figures are like 6 to 8 inches tall. It looks more like somebody who wants to buy a model kit doesn't know how to put a model kit together or paint it, so they just buy one of those figures and put it up on the shelf. It looks like it's made just to stand there. It comes with a bunch of different heads, so you can have it one week looking this way, another one got an angry face. You can switch the hand. Nobody ever switches the hands. Let's be honest. Maybe the day you get them, maybe the day, we're gonna put a fist on him, and then after you through a few days, you don't put the hands on. You lose them all. But they just don't look like toys, and I just really can't. I've got some bigger figures, some 6-inch figures. It's really hurts me. I miss my 3.75, but I understand. The small ones are dying out. Today, the 3.75 are the Nego doll size of the late 70s. They were huge in the 60s, huge in the 70s, and then kind of tanked down in the 80s. And that's what we're looking at least around 3.75. But they look like toys. And at least there's some still small ones out there that do look like toys. But overall, action figures, they just don't look like... Is it just me? Somebody in the comments let me know, is it just me? Again, I want to buy an action figure that looks like something I saw in a movie and I fell in love with, or a television show, and it looks like a toy version of that. Like, let's go, I see, what was else the biggest hit of the summer? Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, one of the biggest movies of the summer. Let's say you take Indiana Jones and you're like, shrunk it down. Yes, now if I'm paying a little bit more for the 6-inch ones, yes, I want that one to look more like, I don't really want that one to look like a toy. But overall, I just miss toys. I would love an Indiana Jones line that was like aimed at kids. And that's what it was about being an action figure collector. It wasn't because it looked just like a copied from the movie. It looked like a toy. I collect toys because I want my toys to look like toys. Is that so bad? Now, don't get me wrong. Again, they're making some cool things in the bigger formats and even the smaller formats, and they do look more like the thing from the movie. But again, they don't look like something you can play with. They look like something made just to sit on a shelf. Hell, if it's NECA, it looks like it's probably may not even come out of the box. Maybe I'm just ranting. Maybe I'm just like the old man screaming at the clouds. Maybe you guys are like, what are you talking about? I just miss when action figures were collectors bought them, but their big money was selling to kids, and then we bought them because it connected to our childhood. You go see what was one of the big summer movies I can't keep up with. Mission Impossible. That's probably one of the biggest movies this year. Let's say they made a toy line from that. I know they didn't, but a cool toy. I want a toy line, not a 6-inch. Tom Cruise looks like a model. He can change his head, he can change his fist. Give me, a play set. Give me something I want my toys to look like toys. That's all. I've said that 100 times. I'm going to say it again. Toys that look like toys. That's the fun of collecting the toys. Sure, like I said, I buy some nice looking things. A 6-inch Indiana Jones because it looks like him. And I buy some Hot Toys. I got some Hot Toys back here. And yes, I wouldn't mind that. But overall, as a toy collector, I want to collect toys. But I guess there's two different worlds. Maybe I just figured this out myself. There's the toy collector world that wants to collect toys, stuff made for kids, that reconnects you to your childhood. Even if it's new toys, it kind of just reminds you of your childhood. Still buying toys, I'm an adult. And then there's some that's just a fan of the movie, and I guess they want more model-like figures that don't look like you play with them, and they just sit up on a counter, but some reason they got a joint right here. I've never seen anyone with a joint. I've never wanted to move I've never ever wanted to move my action figure right here at the waist. I never said, oh man, I sure like to play with that Luke Skywalker figure, but his breasts don't move up and down. But again, I don't know if I'm just preaching to the choir. I don't know if you guys are like, what are you talking about, Junkman? I was at Target the other day. Me and my son was there. We were looking at toys, and we were trying to get some Indiana Jones stuff. We didn't have any, and anyway that we needed anyway. And that's when I just saw these figures. I saw some new Spider-Man figures that looked good. They were on that old 90s card like I did a video on last week. But of course, they wasn't the same size. These were about, 6, 7 inches tall. They looked like you couldn't play with them. They look nice. They would look nice in a glass case. They would look nice to leave it on the card and put it on the wall. They would look nice, put Spider-Man fighting somebody in a fighting pose. But they didn't look like you could take them home and play with them. No. How do you play with them big 6-inch figures? They're so big and bulky. Now, they do make wrestling figures, and I can understand those probably you can still play with. You can have them wrestle each other, but It just seems like everything now is just two collectors. And the reason I collect is because it's for the kids. Because I want to connect that child, I want to connect to the child part of me that's still in there. Even if it's the old stuff, because I had it as a kid, so that connects something. But even if it's new stuff, it connects to my childlike mind. I'm like, yeah, that reminds. If I was a kid, that's what I would play with today. But again, I'm just ranting. I don't really know what the purpose of this was other than to get it off my chest, because it really bummed me out when I went over there. I was like, I can understand, you have the toy section over by the electronics. That's usually where they put the collector stuff over there, NECA and stuff like that. Okay, but this was in the toy section. Every action figure in the toy section, almost, they might have been for Fortnite or some crap like that. But for the most part, every action figure on the action figure aisle looked like they were aimed for collectors. They didn't look like you could play with them. They didn't look playable. They looked like they were just made to pose or made to sit on the card. They looked like pieces of art or model kits or something. Please, if you're out there, if you're a toy company out there, please make action figures that look like toys. It's not that hard. And we can rant about prices another day. Well, let me know in the comments below what you think. Am I wrong? Am I right? Or am I just going old and crazy and just getting mad at something to get mad about? Let me know that and more in the comments below. And until the next video, thumbs up on my content, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk again.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.